Hey everyone, this is Athletes and Antiquities. Today I want to talk about theme decks and how they've evolved and changed over the years. And I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of different things that have been tried. So in the early WotC, in like Base, Jungle, Fossil, the Gyms, Rocket, all those, the theme decks were fairly straightforward. It was just a 60 card deck that has one holo, a couple rares, mostly commons, and a ton of energies, like usually like 20 or 30 energies. It was crazy. And then it would come with a little booklet, some damage counters, and information on how to play the game. It was, I mean, they still are, but they're mainly geared towards new players. They're usually decks that are playable against each other, but not very competitive in the grand scheme of things. Like, you often won't find ultra rares and things like that. But it's just hey, here's a fun deck if you want to play with your friends on a very low cost basis, and here's how you do it. So yeah, so this was a Blaine deck. It's been opened, but I still have all the cards. But this is just the box with the instructions and the damage counters and stuff in it. I'll just show you guys what it contained. So this was a deck list of the deck that it came with, as well as the other decks like Koga, Sabrina, Lieutenant Surge, etc., and all those deck lists, as well as the entire card sets from various different releases like Jungle and things like that. And then here is the how to play advanced rulebook, but it's just a regular rulebook. How to play, things like that, very customary. Then it came with, I don't have the cards in here, so I can't showcase those, but I do have the damage counters back when this was all you needed. What is that? 120 damage total. And so that's it. And then it came with obviously your 60 card deck. So fairly customary, and it stayed like this for a while. But then around in the EX era, I have a Japanese version, but in the EX era, these were more common in Japan, but they started having things like half decks. So a half deck, if you can see, it's only 30 cards. This is a Charizard EX half deck from Japan. It's fairly rare to find these still sealed. I got this a while ago when it was much cheaper. Now they're really shot up in price. But so it comes with, these actually came with an ultra rare. So obviously you can see the Charizard EX. It's a holo ultra rare from that set, and it came with only 30 cards, hence the name half deck. So I'm not sure if it has the card list on the back. No, I don't. Maybe it's in another. Maybe I just can't read it. But if you can look it up. But it was a very cheap way to get these ultra rares. So if you notice, like the Japanese version of this card is much cheaper than the English version because it was so easily accessible compared to the English one, which had to be pulled in a pack. So these were when they implemented half decks, and when they first started to put in ultra rares into these decks. I'm not a huge fan of the ultra rares in the decks because it devalues that card tremendously. It just makes it less special. I'd much rather pull an ultra rare out of a pack than buying something that costed $10 where I know what I'm going to get in it is going to be this Charizard. But now they're very collectible, especially these older ones. So it's a great thing to pick up at the time. I don't think it's great for the card game, but or more from a collectible standpoint. From the card game standpoint, I guess it's very helpful. But so then on the English side, decks didn't change too much. There weren't very many half decks released in the English, but in the Heart Gold Soul Silver era, they started doing something. This is a French one. I have an English one right here. In the Heart Gold Soul Silver era, they started adding in a pack into each theme deck because their theme decks, the problem was because they were only meant to face each other, they weren't very competitive. So not a lot of people were buying them. So the theme decks were staying on store shelves. That's why a lot of them from like the Diamond and Pearl era are very cheap still. Or I don't know if they are anymore, but back a couple of years ago, you could still find some theme decks for about $12 from this era, which was pretty crazy. So they weren't selling well, so they thought, hey, let's add a booster pack into every box. And that tremendously boosted the sales of these because not only were you getting that 60 card deck with that holo, usually, and these started coming in with the unique shattered holo. So if you see in the Diamond and Pearl era, it was just a regular holo that you could pull from the set. But now you can see it's a shattered holo, so it's exclusive, and with the pack, they started selling like mad. They only did this, unfortunately, for the Heart Gold Soul Silver era and Call of Legends, which is what this set is. So I think there were about 10 in total that were released with packs. So these actually go for a lot of money now, because especially Call of Legends. Call of Legends is a very expensive set, so having a pack in a box like this that you can't weigh is extremely valuable, because I can't weigh this and be able to tell if the pack inside is a heavy pack or a light pack. But if I just had a single pack, I could very easily do that. So they unfortunately stopped doing it like this. I think this was the best era of theme decks because it didn't guarantee you an ultra rare like the EX series kind of ones like this, but it still had that chase aspect where everyone's not getting the exact same product. You could get an ultra rare in it, but that was merely up to chance. And so after this, they went back to the normal theme deck style where they removed the pack. Once the black and white era hit, they removed the pack. They still kept the Shattered Hollow, which made there be an exclusive card in here, which still made them somewhat desirable. But yeah, so it was a regular theme deck, 60 cards, the Shattered Hollow. And now I think theme decks are a little bit dull, but one thing they have done to increase sales, instead of adding in the pack, they've just started making those theme decks more competitive. So usually not with the Pokemon themselves, but they've started adding in trainers that were very good, and some people would buy the theme deck just for those 4 trainers or whatever that were included that were very desirable. So that's kind of how they've worked around the booster pack. I think it's unfortunate. I think they should bring it back. But I mentioned how in Japan they have these ultra rare half decks, and now one thing that they've started doing in English as well are like the arena decks and the league battle decks. What these are, I'll tilt up the camera a little bit. What these are is a 60 card deck. There's a lot of fanfare here with glitter on the packaging and stuff. But now they have theme decks with the ultra rares in it in multiple copies. So you see there are 3 GXs in this box. It was like a $15, maybe $20 box, and there were 3 ultra rares in it. And one, it devalues them, but the reason how they get around it is they release this product at the very tail end of when these cards are in rotation. So the Reshiram and Charizard was a world championship deck. Like, that was one of the most elite decks. So if this product was released, so because the Reshiram and Charizard was one of the most elite decks, if this was released when those cards were still like brand new to rotation, it would mess up the pricing, it would mess up the flow of a lot of the games because those cards were way too accessible. So they released this on the very tail end of those cards' playability cycle, and that still allowed for them to capitalize on the popularity of the product, but also didn't disrupt the metagame too heavily because there wasn't a large amount of overlap when this product was out and those products were released. So this is kind of their new foray into the pre-constructed deck market. It's very different from the theme decks. They still have their normal theme decks that are released at the very beginning with the set that are like some more normal some normal holo rare might be included with it, not these crazy ultra rares, but still I think it's an interesting thing to mention. Again, I'm not a huge fan of these. I only picked up this one because it has 3 Charizards in it, and I think in 5 years this sealed product will be a lot more expensive, so I wanted to get it now. But yeah, that was just another example of a pre-constructed deck that the Pokemon Company releases. So this is just wrapping through. So we have the pre-constructed decks from Call of Legends. We have the ultra rare arena battle decks. I showed you some EX series such as this, and then the original WotC, like with Blaine's from Gym Challenge. So I hope you guys like that. Let me know what you guys think. If there's other types of things like this you want to see with different styles of product and how it's changed, let me know. Yep, see ya.